The red pill, the manosphere, whatever you want to call it, is inherently beta, based off of their own definition. And in the context of this channel, based off the definition of Friedrich Nietzsche. If Nietzsche were alive today, he would define the manosphere as slave morality. And therefore, in a modern vernacular context, he'll call it beta, the way that the manosphere red pill guys call other things beta. And I'm going to explain that here in this video. And before I start off, I want to make it clear that I'm not talking to manosphere guys with contempt. I'm not looking down on them. I am really trying my best not to do that, because I used to be part of the manosphere myself. A lot of the topics on this channel, a lot of the topics on my first channel talk about my experiences with the manosphere and how I truly believe it to be a stage of the spirit. I believe it to be a stage of development. I think it's inevitable that men go through a reactive stage, which is what the red pill is. And so this leads me to, this guy right here. In this specific text, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he has a very famous passage called the Metamorphosis of the Spirit. And in the Metamorphosis of the Spirit, he talks about how the spirit goes through 3 stages. It goes through the camel stage, where it is bearing the load of society, working really hard despite sort of being oppressed. But it's actually a very admirable creature, because it's still trying its hardest despite the circumstance that it's in. So that's the camel stage, what the manospherians would probably call like the blue pill, right? Then there's the lion stage, where you react against this giant dragon called Thou Shalt, which is, basically a proxy for, or maybe a metaphor, I should say, for society and societal expectations. And so you rebel against that. You're the lion. Sounds pretty cool, right? That's the red pill. I'm going to make the argument here that that stage is actually inherently beta, right? And I'm going to tie this into another very famous idea of Nietzsche's, which is the master and slave morality. So he talks about this in another work, in Beyond Good and Evil, but also he talks about it more in depth in the Genealogy of Morals, where he talks about how slave morality is inherently something that is reactive. It cannot really create values, similar to how the lion in the 3 Metamorphoses of the Spirit, it can't create values either. That comes in the 3rd stage, which is the child stage. All the lion can do is just say no, right? It has a sacred no toward the dragon that is Thou Shalt. So if we relate it back to the manosphere, it's basically men saying no to societal expectations, toward the gynocentric social order, toward feminism, toward women having power over them. But they can't really move on and be creative and be truly their best selves and strong until they move on from that, right? Now, Nietzsche's very clear. Well, he actually isn't very clear, but this is my interpretation. I don't think you can skip from the camel stage to the child stage. You have to go through a lion stage, which is why a red pill phase, so many men go through it. They might not have that label on it, but they have a stage, especially in their late teens, early 20s, where they are very rebellious, right? That's an inevitable thing that's going to happen. I don't think it's something that should be admonished, especially because it's inevitable. And, to put more onus on or responsibility, I should say, on, the people who criticize the manosphere, the more you criticize those types of things, the more they repress it, and then more likely they're going to be attracted to some sort of fringe ideology. You just have to let them kind of go through that reactive stage, all right? But anyway, the reactive stage is inherently beta. And like I said, let me tie it really quickly. I know I'm kind of all over the place here. It's kind of tough for me to put all these abstract ideas together and in a cohesive way, in an understandable, digestible way, off of one take like this. But I'm trying my best, all right? So please bear with me. Anyhow, so yeah, we're going to relate it back to slave morality. So slave morality inherently cannot create values. It is inherently reactive. It's inherently, dare I say, beta. And so what is slave morality? Well, basically slave morality is you create your own morality, you create your own worldview based off of a reaction of somebody else who has things that you want, but you cannot have. And therefore, as a cope, you create your own morality, you create your own movement in response to that. And so that's what the red pill is. The red pill, the manosphere, cannot exist without women, right? It needs to have women, feminism, society, whatever you want to call it, to react to in order for it to have meaning and in order for that to exist. All right. So then Therefore, based off a Nietzschean worldview, it is inherently slave morality because it isn't value creating. It isn't that third stage, that child stage. It needs something to react to. Now, I think when people hear slave morality, they hear reactivity, reaction, they automatically think that that's bad, something contemptible. I think actually this is a misreading of Nietzsche. I believe that Nietzsche doesn't think slave morality is inherently something that's terrible or should be avoided at all costs. We are the descendants of slave morality winning out through the form of Christianity, again, from a Nietzschean worldview. And so basically we have to sort of understand that in the modern day, we have slave morality and we have master morality, more kind of like the natural way of things, might is right type of thing. And so we have to be aware of these two sorts of proclivities that we have of making value judgments and then try to create the best lives for ourselves and the best lives for humanity in the future based off of this understanding. So to say that slave morality is inherently bad or terrible, I just don't think is very productive, and I don't think it really makes much sense. And again, I'm tying this back into the metamorphosis of the spirit, where if he truly believes that the lion stage is inevitable and it's something that's actually necessary for the development of the spirit to be able to create values in the future, to go through that child stage, then it doesn't really make much sense to have contempt for the lion stage and therefore not have contempt for slave morality, because the two things are basically the same thing, is a reaction to being told no, to being told that you can't do something that you want to do, and then creating your own morality based off of that. A morality of negation, a morality of saying, oh, I'm not that thing, actually I'm this thing. And so the red pill in the manosphere is inherently slave morality. Slave morality is inherently beta, and being beta is kind of a contemptible thing within the red pill space, which is kind of ironic because that's exactly what it is. It's almost like they're owning themselves by using that term. And again, it's based off you, the viewer, you, the reader, to interpret beta as bad. I don't think that's bad. I truly believe everybody needs to go through a beta reactive phase. Maybe it's possible if you were born into extreme privilege and you had the greatest upbringing and you had like an extremely giga chad mentor like Aristotle himself, then maybe you don't have to go through that beta reactive phase. But I just don't think that that's true. I think for basically everybody, I mean, we're all the human species after all, but men in particular, we're all going to have sort of that rebellious phase. It could be a biological reason of, your testosterone and everything is pumping a whole lot in your early 20s and you want to just fight stuff and punch people. Maybe not physically, but spiritually. Well, physically for a lot of guys too. And I know it sounds kind of weird to say that's inherently beta, right? But if we look at an alpha, these are all kind of made up terms, let's be honest. But if we look at it as an alpha as an ideal to strive for, wouldn't the ideal to strive for to be somebody who's not attached to certain outcomes and not reactive toward certain people that it feels that it has power over them? For you to actually truly be an alpha guy, you don't have the attachments. You don't feel like women have power over you. You don't feel like society has power over you anymore. That is something to strive for. But in order for you to get there, you have to go through a reactive stage. So yes, the red pill, the manosphere, is inherently beta, but I do not think that that is a bad thing at all. And if you're going through that stage right now, it's not a big deal, right? If you're being truly honest with yourself, like a lot of times guys just be like, I'm an alpha, or I'm a sigma. And I think it's just cope. That could be something to strive for sure. But you're not at that stage yet, and that's nothing to put yourself down over, all right? The entire journey of life is exactly that. It's a journey. What you have to do is you just have to pay attention to what's happening in the journey, pay attention and truly be honest with yourself about why you feel the way that you do, why you look at the world the way that you do. And I think brilliant minds of the past like Friedrich Nietzsche really help to help you think about these things and help you be real about yourself. One of the reasons that I absolutely love this guy and I consider him my greatest mentor is his radical honesty with himself and his radical understanding of himself and being honest, right? A lot of people just aren't self-aware. And this guy's arguably the most self-aware guy who ever lived, for better or for worse. And so he has a very life-affirming philosophy. I think it's fantastic. If this is the first time you're seeing this channel, I talk about Nietzsche all the time. I'm actually going to be starting a new video series soon on YouTube Shorts and probably even Instagram Reels, because you can repost it and stuff, of just going through all of Nietzsche's work, probably in perpetuity, just like, going line by line. And so if you haven't already, please subscribe for that. Check out the new YouTube Shorts of me doing daily Nietzsche content, and also doing almost daily Nietzsche content, long form on this channel as well. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm sure I'm going to have some Manosphere Redpill guys rage in the comments. But no offense, man, you're really just proving my point if you do that, that you are reacting negatively to what I say. That is inherently sort of like a lion stage, or honestly, it's inherently slave morality. And again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Some things are meant to be critiqued. Some things are meant to, some philosophies are meant to be created as a negation of another philosophy. I don't think that's inherently bad, but I do think it is inherently technically beta. And it's up to you whether you think that beta is actually bad or not. I hope this video makes sense. If it got a little bit too abstract or I explained it not so well, I apologize, but I tried my best. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.